Hello, everybody. Welcome to our professional development seminar on instructing for comprehension. So comprehension, let me just first go through why we're talking about this, and then I'll kind of go through the format of this presentation. So instruction for comprehension, this has been our focus point of this 23 and 24 school year, especially giving teachers more tips and strategies to succeed with it. Okay, reading comprehension is something that we have focused on within our English courses across the board pretty extensively. We've tried to give our teachers more strategies, more tools, just to help students become more successful with thinking about what they're reading and understanding readings more. But what we've learned coming into this school year is we've been focusing so heavily as a district on this in our English classes, we started missing the other disciplines. And so we know as teachers, our students are reading across the board. They're reading in science classes for labs. They're reading in history classes, going through a big textbook and pretty much doing a reading a night. Reading in our Spanish classes, we read in math, we read in art. And we as teachers have felt like we don't really have a lot of reading comprehension tools. We know it's a big foundational core of our high school, 9th through 12th grade. We know students, the goal is that they're able to understand what they're reading and they can take that with them into the real world. But we aren't giving anybody enough tools and strategies to be able to do this successfully. So that's been the biggest thing I've been hearing this school year is, hey, Jensen, we don't have enough reading tools. And like, how am I supposed to support comprehension? So that's why we've made this professional development. We want to really be able to hone in on what reading comprehension is, why it's so important, and then how can we go across the disciplines, across all of the content areas and start teaching this to a really high level. That is the goal of this development today. So this is our first piece that we're hoping we can use to kind of take us off into the world of reading comprehension. But now within the next couple of years, we are going to continue compiling resources and compiling tools and strategies to help our students hit this to a really high level. So this meeting itself is done as a Zoom recording. And the reason for that is because it is Thanksgiving break. And I did not want to make anybody come in and sit on this with me today because you should all be home spending time with your families and enjoying some well-needed time off. So because of that, how you're going to be receiving this, it is going to be emailed to you. So you will get this Zoom link with me talking through the slides. You will get the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going through. And you will also get all of the links within this video. So all of the links you're going to see, there's 2 videos in this, there's 3 different readings, and then there is an exit slip as well. You will have all of the links to access everything. Oh, there's a Padlet too. And if you cannot access any of them, please let me know early so that I can make sure that those are shared out to you. Okay, so let's get into this. So starting with the goals and the vision, why reading comprehension again? So our big goal is that we need to understand the purpose behind reading. And we know, again, reading comprehension at a high school level is our big purpose. Coming from the younger grades, especially K through 5, and even beyond that, though, we do want to make sure students have phonological awareness, understand the phonemes and phonetics, and then going from there, we want to make sure that they have some fluency, they're able to understand vocabulary. All of that leads into reading comprehension. But at the high school level, now our big goal is they're about to go off into the real world. We want them to be able to take a reading and really understand and unpack what that means and how they can apply it into their life. That's our ultimate purpose behind the reading. So the why. We also want to learn the tools and strategies to guide reading within our classrooms. And again, it's multidisciplinary. These are not just tools and strategies for an English classroom. Yes, these are really useful for an English classroom. And as an English teacher, I really appreciate these. But this is multidisciplinary. We want this to go across all of the classes, science, history, math, art, okay, anything that we're seeing in the school, we want students to be able to use this. Also, we want to ensure that students are gaining skills to understand what they're reading. So not only are we giving them tools and strategies, now they have the skills to go off on their own and they can apply these into their readings so that they're able to be successful outside of our classrooms. We also want to provide students with resources to help them understand what they're reading. It's a really important part, just giving them the access and giving them the capabilities to do this, okay? So if we take those 4 goals and encompass them down into one goal, our biggest remember point is that the goal is to help our students gain skills to become confident readers through the tools and resources we are providing them. Okay, that is our end all. So again, why comprehension? Why is this the focus point? as we just discussed, it is the foundational core of literacy instruction within our schools. Just reading and understanding is not enough. We don't just want them to read something and be like, okay, I get it, not a big deal. We want them to have some depth to it. We want them to be able to apply this into their own lives and into the real world and take this with them. And how can I use what I'm reading? That's our biggest goal, especially, again, we're 9th or 12th grade teachers, especially when we're getting to our seniors who really are about to go off on their own. How are they able to find readings and apply them into their current lives and their current situations? Students also need to be able to comprehend a text in order to be successful in other areas of life. Okay. Comprehension is not just a high school thing and then it's done. This is going to carry with them throughout everything they do in the rest of their lives. You think about reading simple things, reading a newspaper article or something on their phones. Think about reading ingredients or recipes, but even just applying for jobs or applying for colleges or going into grad school, like whatever these kids are going to do in their lives, we don't know where they're going to go. They need to be able to comprehend things in order to be successful overall. So I'm going to show you a quick video. It is the why of reading comprehension. It should be able to share sound at this point, but if for some reason it does not, please, again, just click on the link on your own. You will be able to see it. Okay, but this screen should be shared and you should be able to hear it through this, but you are more than welcome to go off on your own, watch this video. It is called Why Reading Comprehension Matters, and then we're going to come back together. Okay, and I'm going to actually turn off my screen as I share that.
So comprehension is one of the most important critical pieces of learning how to read that sometimes might be missing from a systematic phonetic program. And it is so important, and here's why. We don't want kids to just be able to decode words, right? We want them to be able to see words for more than just here's how you sound out a word. We want them to be able to think about what they're reading and understand it, and we want them to be able to be curious about it and ask questions and come up with ideas about it and be able to really learn and absorb that information. So there's a couple things that scientists say that we do that helps us retain and really absorb that information. One of those is going to be retelling. Another one is going to be relating it to things that we already know or understand. Think about it like if you know someone in a company, it's a lot easier to get a job at that company because of that relationship, right? And to be able to stay there and have good employment there. Well, our brain kind of works the same way. So if you relate something that you're learning or reading to something you already know that's already stored in your brain, it's so much easier to get in and then to keep it there than it is if you're just starting from scratch. And so that's what we're trying to do with comprehension. Now here's something really cool, because comprehension is something that you can start teaching before kids are even learning their letters. Whoa, like at 2 years old, right? As toddlers, as 3-year-olds, as 4-year-olds, as we're reading aloud to children, you can already start practicing really good comprehension techniques. And kids are already doing those, they're used to it, so that when they start reading on their own, it's natural to them. That's how they consume written word, that's how they read, and that's how they understand it. So
So we're going to stop it right here because that's about all we need from that video. So heading back into our presentation now, she talked a lot about the importance of making those connections and being able to apply what a student is reading to what they already know and applying it to their real life currently. And that spans, as she mentioned, among the grade levels. So kids can start this at a really young age and start making those connections, but then using things like retelling, using things like background knowledge and context, that's all essential to help them grow just as a human being in general, which is, again, why reading comprehension is so important. I love the analogy between people trying to get a job and students trying to understand a reading, where it's like when you're trying to get a job, having connections matters. Okay, when you're understanding a reading, having connections matters. So such an important analogy and such an important piece to why reading comprehension
is
matters.
one of the
So going from that, the key components of reading comprehension. This is kind of our written piece of, again, why it matters, but what exactly is it? So comprehension is the ability for students to read something at a deep level. It's taking just something and actually thinking about it, actually applying it, not just reading it for the words, but reading it for application. It involves teaching students to think about what they're reading. So again, not just reading the words, but really trying to apply it and figure out what they can do with that reading. To do this as educators, we need to immerse students in an environment where they can think about things. They can share opinions. We want to make our classrooms really open and inclusive. They can explore their curiosities because this will lead them to start thinking about what they're reading, what they're viewing, what they're hearing. And all of those skills lead to comprehension and again, allow them to apply it in a real world setting. Literacy leaders Douglas Fisher and Nancy Fry have a lot of different theories on reading comprehension and the importance and strategies you can use. Would highly recommend any of their readings if you want to get some deeper knowledge on this. But just to jump into a little piece, they talk a lot about motivation and engagement within a reading. So they add a lot of choice, a lot of relevancy, a lot of curiosity, and how all of that drives a will to read. We want to be sure that we are applying that into our reading comprehension in the classroom as well. So giving students some choice in an article and not just giving them one specific thing, but actually applying that element of choice, finding concepts that engage them or readings that would be engaging. The more motivation they have to read, the more they'll be willing to do it outside of our classroom. There are different processes for reading towards or working towards reading comprehension. One of them, as she mentioned in the video, retelling and question response is huge. Okay, giving a student to reading and letting them retell it in their words. So what did you just gain from this? What did we just learn from this? But also just question response at a basic level, being able to respond to what they read and not just reading and being like, wait, I have no idea what happened. Okay, that skill set of being able to retell and answer questions. Again, like she mentioned in the video, background knowledge and making connections, okay? Giving students that context prior to reading and helping them truly make connections through what they're reading, because that will help them gain a deeper understanding of it and help them apply it to their lives. Text interaction is great too, using sticky notes, annotations, okay? Whatever you are able to use where you can have them highlight, you can have them underline, interacting with what they're reading slows them down and helps them to think about it a little bit more. Modeling. I actually use this a lot in my class where I will read something out loud. And then as I'm reading it, I'll stop at different pieces and be like, oh, this reminds me of ABC from my life. This reminds me of this. And I let students see what that process of connecting with a text looks like so that then when they get to a reading, they can stop and they can share some ideas too of what that connects to for them or what it reminds them of. So modeling what good thinking looks like when it comes to reading. And then authentic instruction, just making sure the concepts are relevant for students and they are based around their current lives. Okay, so usually we would do this as a turn and talk, but again, we're doing this through Zoom because it is over Thanksgiving break. So instead of a turn and talk, what I'm going to have you do is just think for 30 seconds. So I'm going to time it right over here. I want you to think about a reading or different readings that you've utilized in your class. And again, I know every classroom uses readings. What are strategies you've used to ensure students understood what they were reading? Okay. Again, if we were in person, we would be sharing out 5 strategies, but on the next slide, I actually do have some of these core strategies. So I'm just going to give you about 30 seconds. Think about something that you have used. And if you can share that with me through an email or through the reflection, I believe this is a question on the reflection too. Please share that with me so that I can add some of these to our list. But go ahead, 30 seconds, think about it, and then we'll talk about it. All right, I know that was quick, but coming back together. So hopefully you have some strategies that you've utilized that you really like when it comes to thinking about what students are reading. Some of mine that I have compiled, and this is from hearing from previous teachers. These are also strategies that I've read about and strategies I've used in my own classes. So providing background information on the topic is a really great way to get students thinking about what they're reading. Before going into a presentation, a lot of teachers say that they will share out slides or share out something, videos, slides, where students can then see what the topic is about and what's going to cover so that they can help make those connections as they're reading. Another one that a lot of teachers have told me they use is vocabulary instruction prior to reading. So teaching students key terms that they might need to know so that when they get to the reading, they already feel confident with those. They know what they are. There's no hangups about what that is. And then they can really read successfully and get a deeper understanding. This is one that I use a lot, and I know a lot of my colleagues do as well, having students annotate as they read. So again, highlighting, underlining, slowing them down, making connections with the text, writing about it as they're reading it so that they're gaining a deeper understanding. And they can go back into the text if they need to and already have these ideas highlighted or underlined for them. Modeling, again, reading aloud, making text connections. That's such a great method. Or using graphic organizers. Maybe you have students read and you pull out a mind map and you have them fill out how different concepts relate to each other as they're reading. Or you could do it as a pre-reading or a post-reading. KWL charts. Okay, again, you could do a pre-reading. What do you already know? What do you want to learn from this? And then the post-reading. What did you learn from this? Any kind of graphic organizer you can use will help students really think deeper about the text. All great strategies to help start engaging students in their reading. So Scarborough's reading rope, let's talk about this a little bit. Dr. Hollis Scarborough is a psychologist and also just a literacy leader, and she has done a lot of research on the different connections of reading is complex. We know that. She has done a lot of research in her lifetime trying to make these connections and figure out what makes a student a really skilled reader. So let's talk about her reading rope a little bit. This is the foundation of like all literacy here. Everything we follow, it's coming from this concept. So what Scarborough decided that goes into a skilled reading is that you first need that vocab knowledge. And again, that's a great comprehension strategy, but get that vocab knowledge intertwined in there. Background knowledge, making connections, get that in there. Language structures, okay? So understanding how a reading is formatted, the literacy knowledge, that could be like your mind map, your graphic organizers, and just the understanding of how literacy works. Having some verbal reasoning, being able to explain what they're reading and see that. And then, so that all leads to the language comprehension. Then you have the decoding, the phonological awareness, the sight recognition. That comes a little bit sooner, usually in the elementary grades. Sometimes we do need to touch on that in high school too and kind of help students catch up if they've missed some gaps. But being able to decode words, understanding the sounds of words and how they make new words, and sight recognizing vocabulary words, that also intertwines with the language comprehension. Those together help make a skilled reader. And so specifically looking at the high school piece of it, allowing students to gain that vocabulary knowledge, helping them with the background, giving them the language structures and the literacy knowledge, and giving them the chance to verbally reason, that all helps lead to language comprehension and all needs to be embedded into our instruction. So we need to find really intentional ways to use that so that we are helping students become skilled readers. We also need to look for those gaps. Where might our students be missing things and what can we help them catch up on? So again, just explained a little bit deeper, the language comprehension and word recognition lead to an overall skilled reading comprehension. Language comprehension, like I said, includes the explicit vocabulary, background knowledge, structure of a text, literacy knowledge, while the word recognition is the phonological awareness, the decoding of words, and the sight recognition. All of these skills need to be intentional to build reading comprehension, the nitty-gritty of it. Okay. I'm going to show you another video quick. It's just the importance of background knowledge in a text. And then we have some reading resources. We're going to go through some tools, and I know I am already going to be running long, so I'm going to try to cut these a little bit shorter, but I'm going to show you, this is about a minute-long video of just why background knowledge becomes so important. This one comes from Dr. Justin Bader. He is the director of the Principal Center. His big job is helping senior leaders in K through 12 organizations to build that instructional leadership. So we'll show this video quick.
We've had reading comprehension all wrong for years now, and only in the last couple of years have we really become clear on what goes into reading comprehension. And the answer is knowledge. Students need background knowledge. They need knowledge of vocabulary. They need to understand the topic that they're reading about in order to comprehend what they're reading. And that's a big contrast to the way we've approached reading over the last 2 decades, especially since No Child Left Behind, when we thought we should be teaching skills and strategies. And a lot of the recent research, you can read about this in Dan Willingham's work and in Natalie Wexler's book, The Knowledge Gap. A lot of the recent research has found that those skills are not really skills, and the strategies that we've been teaching to help build those skills don't actually work. At the end of the day, you can use all the strategies in the world, and if you don't have the background knowledge to understand what you're reading, you're not going to understand what you're reading. There are no general reading comprehension strategies that work without background knowledge. So Natalie Wexler has been doing a great job of reporting on this new science of reading, and of course there's a lot about the science of reading around phonics, and especially with early phonics instruction and the importance of that. But we're now realizing just how important background knowledge is as well. And if we want to help all students learn to be successful readers and to have good comprehension, and ultimately to do well on tests, but more importantly to do well in life, we have to systematically build background knowledge. So Natalie has a new podcast called
I'm going to stop it there because he's just going to talk a little bit more about Natalie Wexler and her podcast here. But yeah, background knowledge. Okay, so based around everything we know with Scarborough's rope, with what makes a good reader, okay, coming back, we need to start with that foundational background knowledge for students. Okay, so really be intentional about adding that into our classes. It's such an important piece, and it will help our students become better readers. So I have 3 article options here, and I was going to give each person 10 minutes to read through it, but we're just going to take a couple of minutes to look through some of these. I'm going to keep going through. If you want to pause it here and just kind of look through one of these, that would be great. But out of these 3 articles, the first one is 7 strategies to teach students text comprehension. The second one is teaching the 7 strategies of highly effective readers. And the third one is teaching high school students active reading skills. So the first one comes from Reading Rockets. Second one is Adlet. Third one is Edutopia. Okay, all good articles. They're all really interesting. Look through it, and we have a Padlet coming up. I want you to just choose one of these articles to look through quick. I'm going to take about 2 minutes to just skim through one. And then once you're done looking through that, when we get to the Padlet, go ahead and click on the Padlet and add one of your own comments, okay? So I'm going to also take 2 minutes to just read through one of these quick. Go ahead, find the link that you would like to read. You can choose one of the 3 articles, and then think about a strategy you would like to implement in the next month and one you would like to implement in the next year. Okay, that's kind of our goal here. I'm going to choose the first one. Okay, like I said, really nice and quick, but I really want to make sure I maintain the time. So when I get to this Padlet here in 2 slides, I have 2 things that I think I would be able to implement stronger, and I'm going to be able to put those down. Hopefully you can just pause me here, take a little bit, find your strategy that you'd love to implement in the next month and one you'd like to implement in the next year. When we hit that Padlet link in 2 slides, you'll be able to add yours in there. So some tools though, I really want to focus on this because these are things I want you to be able to use. One tool that you should start implementing, or you can start implementing, would be more graphic organizers within your readings, okay? Whether you're a science teacher, an English teacher, if you're a history teacher, adding stuff like KWL charts where students are able to tell us what they know, what they want to learn, and what they did learn through reading. That can really help them start understanding the text deeper. Venn diagrams, and based on the reading that I just did from Reading Rockets, that is actually the one that I want to implement more of in the next month because I don't do a lot of Venn diagrams where we're comparing and contrasting different ideas. And I could use more with the types of readings I use in my class. So that would be great where students have 2 circles. They're kind of comparing, contrasting these 2 ideas, adding some similarities. Super great to help them comprehend a couple of different topics. Using story maps like mind mapping or different charts where they're maybe doing like a plot diagram, something where they're analyzing the elements. Great ideas to implement. Also gamifying. We know our students love games. There's Kahoots, Lookits, Quizlets, and so many of them are already made for us. There's a new one called GimKit. Okay, I've heard great things. I'm still trying to explore it more, but gamifying your content so that students can really think about what they're reading and add it into a game. Always a great method. Using text interactions like think and searches, okay, where they're thinking about a topic and then they're trying to search for the answers in a text. Summarizing it. Maybe they need to retell to a friend. Maybe they need to retell on a sheet of paper. Question generating and answers. So asking them questions about what they're reading. Really be purposeful about what types of questions you're asking and what they're gaining from it. Some online tools, and this is my highlight. My first one is Padlet, though that's the one that I'm going to make you guys respond on because I think it's fantastic. This can be used for group sharing and interaction with the text. Okay, so the teacher makes a Padlet account. It's a free account. You can add your class into it. You can share the link with your students so they don't even have to make an account, but you can post a topic and students get to write their responses to the topic once they receive that link. Students can comment on each other's comments, and that will help them analyze a concept to a deeper extent. The other one is ReadWorks. So this is something I've been super passionate about. I've been using it a lot in my classes. ReadWorks is actually a data tracking tool on student reading comprehension. It is progress monitoring. It's absolutely fantastic. So ReadWorks has a lot of different articles in it where like science-based, history-based, any kind of topic you can think of. And students will read an article and they'll answer some multiple choice questions about it and some short answer. So if you are ever wondering where's their comprehension at and how are they improving, it's great to use to just be able to track that data and monitor. And it's something I've been using now for the last 2 years. I have seen great success with it. It's been like through research shown that it does have high success levels. So it would be a great progress monitoring tool to add to your repertoire. Okay. So exploring Padlet. So please click on this link. It is emailed to you and share one thing from the reading. I'm going to add mine. So in the Padlet link, and oh, I'll write it right here. In 1 month, I would like to add in more Venn diagrams. In 1 year, I would like to use the author and you tool. Like to use the you idea where students are wondering what the author's intent was, and then also making connections to themselves. So students are reading, and I'm just going to add making connections to their own life. Those would be the two that I would like to add. So I'm going to add that. Maybe if I can see publish, there's mine. And people can add comments to it if they would like, if they have something similar, or else please just add in your own to this Padlet so that we can just see a compilation of answers. At our next professional development, we will be able to talk about this a little bit more and look through what some of our colleagues are going to try to do in their classes, which is really cool. Okay. So moving forward, I am going to encourage that all staff implements one comprehension tool we've discussed. Maybe it's a KWL chart or a Venn diagram. Maybe it's more annotation. Maybe it's more modeling. Write it down and commit to it. Okay. Really be intentional about this comprehension tool. I would also encourage staff members to create a free ReadWorks account to monitor comprehension within their classes. I'm just going to show you it because I do have a couple of minutes left here. So if we go to ReadWorks, what this looks like, you will create a free account. You are an educator. And I just usually log in with my email, but I'll just log in really quick. And you can see my tools. You can see assignments in progress. It is so fantastic. So my assignments, I have no future assignments, but I do have a lot of past assignments. And you can see what students have submitted this year already. But the content, I always go into reading passages. I look for full text questions. I usually pick 8th grade and then 9th and 10th because I'm teaching 10th graders, but a lot of them I pick goes down to an 8th grade level. You can see there's science articles, there's history articles, but students will read through them. and then they're going to answer questions based on the reading, and you get to see how they've answered multiple choice and short answer, and you get their results. So you can see how students are comprehending in your classes. Great tool to use, you guys. Super easy, super slick, and it's awesome for monitoring comprehension. So I would encourage each staff member to create a free ReadWorks account. Students will just enter a code then, and then they'll have full access. It doesn't take long. You don't have to do it often. I do it once every 2 weeks within my classes. You could even commit to once a month, once every 2 months if you really wanted, but just something new to try. And we will highlight it a lot more in our next development as well and talk about it. Okay, so as we wrap up today, please click on this exit ticket and just reflect on your learning from the day. Okay, the questions I want you to answer. Did you learn new information about comprehension through this development? If you learned many new ideas related to it, let me know. If you learned some new ideas and some of this was a refresh, let me know. And if you already knew the majority of this and this was just a total recap for you, tell me that too. Also, did you learn any new tools and strategies that you can use in your classroom? If you responded yes to question 2, which strategy or strategies were new to you? Okay, what were some new ideas? Would you be willing to create a free ReadWorks account? Okay. If you are open to me reaching out to you about tools such as ReadWorks to learn more about intentional comprehension strategies, let me know. I would like to know if I should reach out to you, or if you're just not interested or not in a space to hear that. Is there any other feedback you can provide me to improve this session? And is there any other information you think needs to be added to this that I missed out on? Okay. So let me know. Reflecting is always great practice, and I like hearing from you guys. I want to know how we can improve, because that's always the goal of this. What should we be adding? Okay, and then here's all the references from the session for today. So as always, you guys reach out with questions or concerns. I am super excited to see your responses on the Padlet. I'm also excited to see how you guys respond to this on the reflection. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys all on Monday. Bye.